So thank you so much, Charlotte, for coming to talk to me. First of all, if you would just like to tell me a little bit about yourself so that the listeners know who you are, what you do, and we'll take it from there, if that's all right with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks so much, Debbie, for having me on. Really pleased to be here. I did your challenge a little while back and I really enjoyed that. I'm really happy to be talking to your community. So I'm Charlotte. I'm based in Brighton in England, and but I work mainly online with people, and I'm a movement coach and personal trainer. And I really specialize in just getting people moving because I think that's the big hurdle for so many people. We all know that we need to move a little bit more to be
Yeah.
healthy and feel good in our bodies, and we have all of these good intentions, but actually doing it and maintaining it is really the struggle. And I, coupled with that, I specialize in pain management. So I work with people with things like chronic low back pain, arthritis, all of these kinds of things, aches and pains, which have been going on for a long time, but there's seems to be maybe no reason why they're going on for such a long time, or with arthritis, obviously there is a reason for the pain, but it's helping people understand, get beyond the fear of moving and helping people move,
Mm.
possibly even when they might still be in pain, but understanding the safety aspect of that. So that's my main focus. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I understand that you originally started off with belly dance. That's kind of what piqued your interest. You were working full time, but you started to get into belly dance. Can you tell me a little bit about sort of, first of all, why belly dancing, and where was your head at that time that
Mhm.
made you decide to start getting into
Yeah.
movement in particular?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, I'm still a belly dancer now as well, and I do still teach classes and perform as well. And yeah, this was totally my route into how I started to get fascinated about the body and the amazing things it can do. I was ironically looking for a way to keep fit without going to the gym.
Okay.
I'm not one of these people that's been sporty all their lives. It was like, in my 20s, I had my own struggles of like, oh, I know I need to get fit, but like, oh, not really into the gym. This isn't sticking, that isn't sticking. So anyway, happened across a belly dance class. And I think the reason I fell in love with it was because of the deeper connection it gave me with my body. Like, as I started to practice it and do it more, like my body was doing these really cool and weird and wonderful things and beautiful things. And some of them are a bit strange, but they look really cool because they look a bit strange. And it just blew me away that I could do this with my body. And that's kind of where the um, the passion for understanding the body and how it works really stemmed from. Belly dance is a beautiful art form, but it wasn't initially. Like a lot of people will go to, maybe they've been to Turkey or Egypt and they've seen a dancer and they're like, oh, I have to learn how to do that. It wasn't so much like that with me. I've come to learn to love Arabic music and Arabic dance throughout that. But for me, initially, it was that personal body connection and also self body image improvement as well, like
Yeah.
massively. I was in my late 20s when I started dancing, and I think I was thinking, oh, maybe I can't wear a bikini on the beach anymore. My body's getting a bit old for that. And, I'd started, things like that. And as soon
Yeah.
as, not long after I started belly dancing, I'd be like showing my belly in class. And, I mean, that's not required at all. I don't expect that from any of my students at all, but it really, yeah, made me feel so much more confident in my own body, and yeah, had
Yeah.
massive positive influence for that.
I love that. I love that because I think that's a common theme for, well, I know for me personally, the thought of going to the gym fills me with horror and dread
Yeah.
because there's just this preconceived idea of what being in the gym is like. And it's like, you know, everybody's going to look at you. Nobody does, but obviously you
Yeah.
think everybody's going to look at me and I haven't exercised for so long. So the fun element, I suppose, of the dance is probably a really good way. And I know that you do lots of different things, and we'll talk about that in a wee second. But whenever you first you were dancing, obviously you were connecting, it was for your own personal health and well-being, but you obviously teach and you still perform and all that. Were you working at the time? Was there a transition from moving from, having a corporate sort of land or a full-time job into being more of a performer, more of using movement and exercise? And obviously now you're a personal trainer and you've got a real pain management sort of element of your work, which is
Mhm.
hugely important. And I definitely want to talk about that. But just going back to that stage when you were still in that transition phase, what was that like for you? Were you trying to balance finding
Oh,
work and play and trying to make it work? I know that's a massive thing for some of the people I work with, that
mhm.
we are constantly trying to struggle to find the the most effective sort of work-life balance, and trying to then bring maybe a new revenue stream or a new business
Yeah,
opportunity in, and people are trying to transition out of paid employment into something else.
yeah.
So maybe if you have any insights, any nuggets of wisdom that you can share of how you manage to
It's
balance that.
yeah, it is a challenge for sure. I think for me, the first thing, I mean, this was like when I first got into dancing, like I had no ambitions particularly of being a professional dancer. I hadn't quite thought that far ahead, like, oh, I want to be a personal trainer eventually. So initially it was just that, okay, cool, I want to be a better dancer. I need to practice more. I need to find time to practice more regularly. And luckily early on in my dance career, I'd also been exposed to dancers, teachers who very much were like, you need to cross train if you want to dance. So you need to do things like going to the
Mm,
gym, doing a Pilates class, doing yoga class, whatever it is, to strengthen your body, to be a better dancer, and to reduce the risk of injury. So I was like, okay, cool. So that's kind of what sold me on like starting to,
yeah.
get into these types of practices. But yeah, where to fit it all in? It was like, and now I needed to do my full-time job, do my dance practice, and fit in some like strength and flexibility practice as well. So
Yeah.
it was a lot, and I was at the beginning, I was trying to like fit in like an hour in the, like I try and get up earlier in the morning and like try and do an hour's practice in the morning before work. And it would work for a couple of days, maybe. I'd managed to stick to it. And then it just fall by the wayside. I wasn't particularly a morning person at the time. And so I'd do a couple of days and it'd fall by the wayside, and I'd try again and fail again. And eventually kind of discovered that if I just got up a little bit earlier and did a little bit of practice, and then went to work, then that would work. And kind of gradually over a period of time, I I kind of managed to increase the amount of time that I was doing. I was able to set the alarm clock a little bit earlier and set it a little bit earlier to give myself that little bit of extra time. So it's one of the things that I really talk about in all of my work is starting small. So whatever it is you're trying to achieve, whether it is developing a fitness movement practice or starting a business, it's I mean, there's always, you see the massive mountain ahead of you, and you try and like, it's almost like you're trying to run up the mountain, which is
Yeah.
never going to
Yeah.
happen because you're going to get knackered pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But by taking those little baby steps, just 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, that's how you're going to build the consistency and manage to maintain the consistency. Because if you build the habit of just doing 5 minutes, so if you think about working on your business as well, like what like little tasks can you do that will
Yeah.
take you like step by step, whether you're managing like trying to balance your
Yeah.
full-time job and this is a side hustle, or whether you're trying to fit it in with your family, like find what those time pockets are for you. Like for me it was the morning, but that doesn't work for everybody. And I was in my 30s then and had a little bit more energy, so I feel like I would the vouch for the benefits of sleep as much as possible as well these days. So you have to, you have to find where you do have time and what is realistic for you, and just take it small stages at a time, and you will
Yeah.
eventually get there.
That's so important. I think that's a theme that has come up over and over and over again in my community about the small baby steps. And I know you actually have a challenge coming up, don't you? like 5 minutes is better than no minutes, something along those lines. Isn't that right? That
I
it's
do.
about trying to get people excited about the fact that, do you know what? A couple of minutes, 5 minutes, better than nothing. It's something I say as well about meditation. I would say to people, 5 minutes of mindful breathing or 1 minute is better than nothing. So, tell me a little bit about what's coming up about that, and then I want to talk a little bit then about your deeper work and about the pain management, because I know that's important to a lot of people in my world. But tell me a little bit about this challenge. What's going on? What can people expect?
Cool. Well, yes, it's cool. As you said, 5 minutes is better than no minutes. And it's a 5-day challenge where you get 5 minutes of movement, exercise, and also a little bit of relaxation to do as well. So
Yeah.
there's a real variety there. My philosophy with creating a movement practice isn't that it has to always be hardcore. I'm
Yeah.
not there at all. Like there's so many different ways of moving your body. Yes, let's do some cardio for our heart. But yes, let's also do some strength work for our bones and for our muscle strengthening, and let's also do some relaxation for our nervous system too. So there's a little bit of everything in the challenge. You get one 5-minute video to do a day, and to complete the challenge, you just have to do that. And then there's some extra stuff in there as well. I'm going to be doing some live bonus sessions with some help to get you motivated, to help get past the things that are holding you back with your practice. What are your own resistors? We'll do a little bit of pain management as well. So for anyone with aches and pains, I'm going to do a session on that in the challenge. And it's a really nice community, actually. This is the third time I've done it this year, and everyone's really supportive and helping each other along in the comments. And you don't need, you just need 5 minutes a day to do it. And if you haven't got more than 5 minutes a day, you don't have to attend the live sessions. I consider you to have completed the challenge if you've done all 5 practices. And yeah, if you want to start to incorporate this mentality and just taking 5 minutes to just do some basic body movement instead of scrolling on your phone for 5 minutes, it starts to become an amazing habit. And people, I think the comments that I get from mostly how blown away they are, that how good they feel after just doing that 5 minutes, whether it's in their body or also mentally as well. So many people say, actually, that really boosted my mood. That's a really common thing. So we start on the 4th of September, and I'm sure Debbie will put some links for me in
Yes,
places where
I
the links go.
will. Absolutely. I will pop the links, folks,
Thank
for
you.
you in the show notes, and in the description of this. So yes, please do. That will be so much fun. I am going to very, very much attempt to actually take part this time. I signed up the last
Yes.
time, and then life just got completely crazy, and I think I was trying to do about 3 different things at once that week. The last time you did it, and I think I did the first day, and then was like, I'm going to have to set something down, but this is a better time of year for me. So I think September
Yes.
works as well. I think people have that mentality almost of nearly back to school, don't they?
Yeah.
It's kind of ingrained in us. But what would you say is one of the biggest misconceptions people have about exercise and
Um,
about getting started?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's exactly that. It's the things that I've just spoken about. It doesn't need to be an hour long. It doesn't even need to be half an hour. Yes, those things are great. The NHS recommendations, I think, are 150 minutes of moderate intensity exercise per week. And if you do 5 minutes a day, you're not going to get your 150 minutes. But you've got to get started somewhere, right? And just by doing these little 5 minutes here and there, so many people also tell me that once they've done their 5 minutes, they want to do a little bit more. I have a program and a subscription program called Move and Glow and Springboard, which have these short practices in, and a lot of people tend to put them together as well. Like if they know they've got a bit longer, then they can put them together, so once you've got started, it's just that, okay, need to,
it's the getting started, isn't it? It's the getting started. I think that's what holds a lot of people back.
Yeah,
And
one of
then
my
I think that's your
favorite,
challenge is going to be the good thing to really push people, because it's like, right, okay, it's just 5 days, it's just 5 minutes a day. I
yeah,
have to give 25 minutes out of my week. Surely I can do
exactly,
that.
yeah,
But
exactly, super
yes,
easy.
um, the mindset side of it as well. that emotional healing and
Mm.
mental healing, I think, that comes from getting in touch with your body and listening to your body.
Yeah.
It's almost like there's such a deep level of wisdom in your body. We hold a
Hmm.
lot of trauma in our body. Do you
Yeah.
find that that's maybe where a lot of people's pain comes from as well? Because I know you're a pain management specialist. Can you tell me a
Yes.
little bit about that? Because I know that I have quite a few people in my community who have chronic illnesses.
Mm.
I lived with chronic pain myself for many, many years.
Yeah.
For me, I got out of it by doing a lot of healing work and a lot of, deep inner healing work and reducing the
Mm.
stress in my life, which was contributing to the joint pain. But I
Mm.
know as I get older, I have pain. We all, I think, as we get older, we have lower back pain. We have all these things. So
Mm.
I know I followed you for a while, and I know you do a lot of pain management. So can you maybe share with the listeners a little bit about how that works and about maybe where you find the pain comes from in people's bodies and how it can be released through the work you do?
Yeah, totally. So when I first started delving into this stuff, I came from a perspective like from being really into like movement and how amazing movement is for the body. And I trained as a biomechanics coach. And I think I was just finishing that training as I started learning more about pain. And it kind of almost blew everything out of the window because I was like, oh yeah, you have like muscle imbalances and these muscles aren't working together well, and this muscle's in spasm, and then I was found out about the what's called the biopsychosocial model. And without wanting to go into it too much in detail, it's basically looking at, yes, biomechanics, but also there's so many other factors contributing to an individual's pain experience. So social factors and psychological factors as well. And it's just completely different for everybody. Everyone has their own experience, and so it's difficult to, you can't really say, well, what and where are people's pains coming from. But you'll mention the stress, Debbie, for example. I mean, that is a
Yeah,
massive one, just because of the tension we hold when we're in that fight or flight state. That's what stress is, basically. It
yeah,
is constantly being in that state of fight or flight or
yeah,
freeze, right? And so your body's primed
yeah,
for this something. And stress is a healthy thing, right? Stress is important. We wouldn't have survived as a species for this long
yeah,
if we didn't have stress, right? We need it, and we need that fight or flight response to be able to run away from something or fight something if we're in danger. So that's how,
yeah,
that's how we've evolved. But there's a quote which I find quite funny, and it really illustrates the point. We haven't evolved our stress response for 30-second mortgages. It was designed in like the animal kingdom to only be for 30 seconds to give us that boost of
yeah,
energy to run or to fight. We haven't evolved the stress response
yeah,
for 30-year mortgages, right?
yeah, that's it.
And I think that just hits the nail on the head.
Yeah,
So in connecting that to our to aches and pains and things like that, there's a few different ways of thinking about it. You talk about tension, like the muscles are constantly in this state of
yeah,
tension. They haven't got a chance to relax. Okay. And yes, that is a biomechanical thing, but it comes from a psychological thing. And yeah, and it's just your nervous system is in this constant state of heightened alertness, and therefore it's more likely to react, and when things
yeah,
happen and have because it's trying to protect you. Your brain is always trying to keep you safe, and so if you've got this heightened level of protection mechanism on, it's always going to be reacting, and potentially increasing pain. So that's one one aspect of it. Stress can,
yeah,
and I think what may happen for a lot of people is that they've been told that stress is contributing to their pain, but they don't really understand why and then how to get beyond that. And so it's like, oh, you're just stressed, so you're in pain. And it's like, well, that's not really helpful.
yeah,
No, it's actually digging deeper, finding out why, but then also understanding the other aspects of pain and why it's a protective mechanism. Is it useful? Often people who've been in pain for a long time, it's like it's an alarm system that's faulty,
Yeah.
as a way of thinking about it. The nervous system's got to this heightened state and it's got stuck there, and it's finding ways to bring that down. And obviously you've used your healing techniques to bring
Yeah.
down the nervous system to help get yourself out of pain, in the same way that I would use movement to do
Yeah.
it, and also through working with people and talking to them and kind of coaching them through the whole aspect of it and just really understanding how pain works. There was a study done, people with pelvic pain, and they did like an MRI on them, and they had the different brain scans of when they weren't moving, and then when they started moving in their pelvis in this way that aggravated their pain, then it would kind of flash up on the MRI. So then they gave them 6 weeks of a pain management, pain education course, similar to the thing that
Yeah.
I would teach, and after that had them do the same thing again, and actually the markers in the brain for the pain were way less, just from
Yeah.
them having understanding how pain works. And it just, that knowledge in itself helps to bring down the levels in the nervous system, because you're not feeling scared, because you're not worried that you're going to hurt yourself more by moving, for example,
Yeah.
because you're not worried that something sinister isn't going on in your body that no one's found yet. Once you understand that most likely it's just something faulty going on in the nervous system that
Yeah.
can be improved. And it's not always a linear journey. You might go back to it, but yeah.
Well, I suppose then people who do have chronic pain, there's fear there for them to move in the first place. So you've
Hmm.
probably got to do a lot of talking people down and talking
Yeah.
people sort of, so there's a lot of like coaching element, as you say. In your work, it's not simply, come and throw these weights around or come and do
Mm.
all this extra. It's like very much just like let's find what's right for you. Because I think that's what's really important, isn't it? For each individual person to have a tailored plan that works for them. Because what works for me won't work
No.
for you, and what for everybody's different. And I think that's what's lovely, I think, about having someone who actually is invested and taking the time to understand. That's lovely. It must be so rewarding for you, Charlotte, to actually do that work.
It really is. It's fantastic when yeah, people have said, "Oh, you've got me out of pain, or you've changed my life, or um you've cured me." I mean, I think that's an exaggeration. I don't think that's quite what I do, but and they're the ones that have done the work themselves. Like it's,
Yeah.
and that's the whole point. It's like if you go to a chiropractor, for example, and I'm not knocking chiropractors at
Yeah.
all, like they do fantastic work,
Yeah.
but you're kind of going to get fixed. You'll go and see the
Yeah.
chiropractor, and the chiropractor will make some adjustments to you, and then hopefully you'll feel better, right?
Yeah.
But maybe you don't. Or maybe you feel better for a bit, but then the problem comes back as well. So my approach is much more about giving people the opportunity to learn how to fix themselves, and giving people the tools to know what things work for them and what their body needs and what their body
Yeah.
needs to keep doing. And I mean, the other thing is, often you'll go to physio, for example, and
Yeah.
again, physio, fantastic. But 9 times out of 10, you'll go and see them 2 or 3 times, and they'll give you some resistance band exercises to do, and you'll do them for a couple of weeks, and then you'll stop doing them, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Everyone can
Absolutely.
relate to that, including myself,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And the
Been there.
reason is because the exercises work, most likely, because that's what they're designed to do. And then you kind of get a bit bored with like pulling this resistance band around the place. You're like, okay, what next? Or there's no real progression with it. And it's so important to, once you get that body part moving well again, to give it a little bit more and give it a little bit more and keep challenging it and keep moving it in different ways. And you can go from like a resistance band exercise to, rolling around on the floor and like moving like on your own hands. I don't know, just coming up with
Yeah.
examples. But
Yeah. Yeah.
um
I love
the
that.
more ways you can, yeah, sorry, go on.
Yeah, no, no. I was just going to say, I love that holding the space for them to heal themselves, because that's kind of what I do as well in a different way.
Yeah.
And I love that there's so many different tools for people in so
Mm.
many different ways. And it's so important because I know I've invited you to come into Soul Food Circle, I think later in the year, to do movement and flow with
Mhm.
the guys in there, because
Yes.
it'll tie in beautifully with the spirituality. I'm really excited to get you in. I can't wait
Yeah.
to see how that's going to work. But it's so lovely because ultimately the person has to heal themselves. They have to do the work.
Mhm.
You haven't got a magic wand. You can't just fix it for them. Neither can I as a Reiki master. I can't walk in and go ding, it's all
Yeah.
fixed. I wish we could, but we can't. Um, just before we wrap up, what piece of advice would you give your younger self? Knowing what you know now about the body and about the importance of movement and your journey so far, what if you could go back and have a chat with your younger self, what would you say?
I would get her to move more. Definitely. I wasn't an inactive kid, but I feel like definitely when I was a teenager, it was like you were a sporty kid, or you weren't. And if you weren't a
Yeah,
sporty kid, then you kind of didn't really do exercise, you know?
yeah,
And my
I
brother was the
totally agree.
sporty one in our family, right? And I
Yeah,
wasn't, I participated a bit, but it wasn't really my thing. And it
yeah,
still isn't really. I'm not particularly sporty at all. Um,
yeah,
so I think probably education is better now, at least I would like to think so, in terms of like, giving kids a better range of things that they can do to stay active. And so I think that would be my main thing, would be to um, tell her to yeah, get active sooner, get into dance sooner, and just enjoy the journey. I think for me, like, movement is how I guess feel movement is spirituality for me. And I think what I wanted to say was that there's so many layers to peel
yeah,
back with it. Like, I'm constantly discovering new layers in terms of how my own body moves and how it responds, and what I can do with it and what I can't do with it. And that's always changing, and also getting
yeah,
older as well. It's, not always
yeah,
changing for the better. But yeah, it's just understanding these different, peeling back, it's like peeling
yeah,
back layers from an
yeah,
onion. And yeah, and just, I would tell her to just have patience with taking time with it all, I think.
love that. I love that. Any last pieces of advice for anyone listening who wants to get started?
I would go and sign up for my challenge, not because
Yeah,
to do this challenge, well, yes, obviously to do the challenge, but when you sign up, you are going to get access to a 3-minute movement practice. It's not even 5 minutes, which means you can get right off this call and go and sign up. And probably within about a minute's time, you could be doing a little bit of movement with me and making your body feel amazing.
I love it. Thank you so much. It has been so good talking to you today. And I've had such
Thank
a
you
lot
so
of
much
fun.
for
I've
having
actually
me.
learned so much about what it is you do and how it all fits together. And I think everyone listening will be so excited. I will drop all your social media links and your website links.
Thank you.
But just for handiness, if anyone's listening, can you just tell them where they can find you?
Yeah, so my company of one is called Solaris. And so you can find me at Solaris Moves on Instagram, and that's my website as well. And if you, I'm just Charlotte Wassell on Facebook, and they are the main places to find me.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It has been a
Thank
pleasure
you.
talking to you, and I will connect again with you really soon and look forward to welcoming you into my community. Good luck with the challenge.
I'm
I will
excited
see
for
you
that
on
as
the
well.
inside.
Yes,
Brilliant. Thank you so
indeed.
much.
Take care.